Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Get Good at OpenRCT2. Now, something which I like to build in my parks is custom merry-go-rounds. Of course, you can build the normal ones like this one, but if you want your carousel to be bigger, then you can always build a custom one like this. Now, this is just a very simple one, but you can heavily decorate them, and you can also even make the horses go backwards if you want. Or you could make double tracks, you can make multiple layers. Anyway, in this video I will show you how to make a simple one, but of course you can always expand on it and make it more intricate. Alright, to build one of these rides we're going to have to do a trick called shoestringing. Anyway, I'll just start with some steel wild mouse track. That's just a track that I like to use since you have these really tight corners that you can use. I will go with two station pieces. I'll make a tight turn and I'll make one straight track piece over here, and behind the station I'll also make some track pieces. You can also hide this underground if you want, but this is where we will spawn the vehicles that will go on the merry-go-round. Now I'll make the entrance and exit here. For now I will just make them invisible. And I will name this ride merry-go-round. Alright, next I will make the track which the horses will be on eventually. And I will use wooden coaster track for this, and this track I will use for the floor of the merry-go-round, but also later for the roof. Anyway, I will disable clearance checks. And I will build this wooden coaster track on top of this straight track piece that we have over here. And then I'm just going to build a curved track like this. If you want your merry-go-round to be bigger, you can also use bigger curves. But in this tutorial I will show you how to make a more simple one. Okay, we could already recolor it. Here's how I typically color them. So main track in one color, then we can have an alternative color scheme, something like this. But yeah, this is you should color it however you want it to be. So this would be I will just name it. So this would be merry-go-round floor and roof. Okay. What we also need, since it's a shoestring, is a control track. So I will delete this track piece for the wild mouse coaster, and over here I will build underground. Now the clearance checks are disabled, so I can just build underground. I will press H and that will remove the floor. Okay, yeah, I will just make a bend like this. I will build 3 straight track pieces, and this last straight track piece is what we are going to use to merge into the control track that I'm going to make over here. Okay, I need to make a control track. It will be underground. For that I will use a wooden wild mouse, and the reason I do that is because it's easy to make a distinction between the track for the wooden wild mouse and the steel wild mouse we're using here. Anyway, just pressing 9 to enable height markers, and I'm going to build this new track at the same height as this straight track that's underground, so 4.5. Also going to make the station same size. And now I'm going to use the cheat to allow chain lifts on all track pieces. And for this control track I wanted to have chain lift on its track for the duration of the ride. So I'm going to do a 180-degree turn. I'm going to merge these track pieces over here on this tile, and then I'm going to continue building the track. Now for this merge over here I want to make sure that this train or these vehicles, as soon as they reach this track, I want them to continue on the wooden wild mouse track. So we'll have to set up this merge properly, just disabling the rain. So the merge is on this tile over here. So I'll go into the tile inspector, select this tile, and I make sure that the wooden wild mouse here is the lower one of the two. So we can see the steel wild mouse here and the wooden wild mouse. I want them to go to the wooden wild mouse. So wooden wild mouse is now at the bottom here. Alright, I will continue building a track here. The longer you make this track, the longer the ride duration will be. I'm not going to make it too long, since a merry-go-round is typically a pretty slow ride, so this should probably be enough. Alright, this underground track doesn't actually need an entrance or an exit. We only need the station pieces here and the track. Right, I will name this wooden wild mouse merry-go-round control track. Alright, now I will rebuild this track piece that was over here for the wild mouse. Okay, for this merry-go-round, I want this track to actually have horses instead of mouse cars. So for that we'll need some cheats. We'll need to show vehicles from other track types. We want to disable vehicle limits so we can have a longer train. And I will also already show all operating modes and unlock operating limits. So now over here we can select from all the vehicles that are enabled, and here we will want horses. And for a track of this size, I already know we can fit 11 horses on this circle, and we'll want 1 horse on the control track, so we'll need 12 horses. Make it 1 car, 12 cars per train. Now, we also have a merge over here. There's a straight piece of steel wild mouse coaster track here and a straight piece of wooden coaster track. We'll want these horses to go to the wooden coaster track, so we'll have to make sure that the wooden coaster track here is lower than the other one, because then the merge will work properly. What will happen now when I start the ride is the train would normally all go underground, but as soon as the first vehicle is on this track piece and is going down, I will pause the game. I will go in Tile Inspector, I'll switch the order of these 2 track pieces around so the rest of the train will actually go on this circle here. So I'll put this ride in test mode. I forgot something. I need to change the ride mode, because right now it's in continuous circuit mode. It doesn't have continuous circuit. I always like to just use the powered launch. Just set it to 6 kilometers per hour. Alright, I will now test the ride as soon as the first vehicle is on its way to the underground track. Then I'll pause the game. Alright, it's now moving down already. So if I now go in Tile Inspector, I go in this tile, and then I switch the track order around so that this curved piece is below the track piece that leads underground. Then the rest of the terrain should go to the wooden coaster track. That didn't work. Let me try that again. Let's see where I messed up. Oh, I actually put the wooden coaster track here under the wild mouse coaster track. I should take this track piece, the wild mouse track piece. You can see me like it here. I actually have to move that one under the other wild mouse coaster track. Like that. And I'll move the wooden coaster track piece back up. So now we have this track piece leading down above the steel wild mouse track leading into this track. So now the rest of the terrain should go to this wooden coaster track. There we go. And yeah, these horses now all fit nicely on this merry-go-round track. And they will now keep going around until this first car reaches the station again. Now we can make the entrance visible again. Let's do a plane. And you can now simply connect a path and a queue over here. Now let's quickly run this ride so we are sure that it actually generates stats. Okay, it actually generates stats. If the ride does not generate any stats, then what you should do is take a track piece that leads to this infinite loop, probably this curve over here, this still wild mouse piece, and then just move it out of the way. And then the stat calculation function will no longer get stuck in this infinite loop here. And if you then if you have moved the track piece out of the way, if you then close and reopen the ride, then it should calculate its stats normally again. Okay, well, the ride is not completely done yet. What I usually do is, for that we'll need to enable allow arbitrary ride type changes. What I typically do is I change the ride into a lift. That makes the Steel Wild Mouse track invisible. And it turns the ride into a transport ride, because a lift or elevator is a transport ride. And guests will ride a transport ride if they bump into the queue, regardless of its stats, as long as it's free. So with rides like these, which typically have pretty low stats, yeah, guests will still ride them, even if their preferred intensity is above 8, for example. Alright, with the tile inspector, I'll copy this straight piece of wooden coaster track that we have here. So I will copy, paste it. Here we have it. Yeah, track piece ID 0 is always a straight track piece. So I'll just take the top one. And I'll just place it a few units higher. And then I'm going to make another circular track here. Now I'll delete this straight track piece. You can also just select this track piece over here and just make it invisible. You do it with this eye icon. That also works. Now just going to do a little bit of recoloring. You could put a circular roof here in the middle. You can also use the recolorable ones if you have those available. Now this still looks a little bit weird with these supports sticking out here. If you want to get rid of those, simply select the track piece here. If you hold Control when you have the tile inspector open and you click a track piece, you immediately select it. And then if you move it below surface, the supports will disappear. Never do this above water though, because if you do that, it will get really glitchy. So I will just quickly remove these supports. Alright, and then probably in the middle we'll want to have some support as well. Now, yeah, your merry-go-round is now pretty much done. What you could still do is, for example, move this entrance inwards a bit. Now, I just copied and pasted it here. I'll select the original one, I'll delete it, I'll select this one, press make usable. I'll do the same for this exit. Just going to move it over here, delete the original one, select this one again, make usable. And if you do that, you could, for example, make a nice queue around the merry-go-round. Alright, just going to hide the entrance and exit like this. And let's just open the ride. And since it's a lift ride type now, guests should ride it regardless of its stats. Anyway, just going to spawn some guests into the park, and then let's see them ride this. Before we open the ride, there's one more thing we should probably do, and for that I'm going to use the ride vehicle editor. I'll leave a link to it in the video description. Anyway, we select the merry-go-round ride, and vehicle 1 is the vehicle that's underground, and it says here it has 2 seats. I'll change that to 0. And if we do that, no guests will actually ride this horse that's underground. Should not be an issue, but might be a little bit weird to have guests on there. But yeah, now your merry-go-round is done. I'll just wait for this horse to reach the station again, and when that's done, now the guests should all get on the merry-go-round. You can now see them on here. I set the minimum wait time quite high. And now guests will ride this merry-go-round until this horse reaches the station again. You can modify this control track if you want. You can even put it in shuttle mode and actually have the horses reverse at some point, so you can make the horses go backwards. Like I said, you can have a wider track if you want. You can have multiple tracks. You can have multiple floors. There's just many ways you can extend this ride. Anyway, hope this tutorial is useful for you. If you like this tutorial, please consider giving it a like. It would really help out my channel. And as usual, let me know in the comments what you think of this tutorial and whether you will build one of these in your own park. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.